Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through the noise to get you truly well-informed and fast. Today we're looking at something kind of invisible but totally fundamental. The microchips powering pretty much everything. Phones, data centers, you name it. And we're going deep on one specific thing, RISC-V. It's an open source chip architecture, and it's really starting to shake things up globally, especially in China. We'll get into the latest news, like a big summit that just happened in Shanghai, to figure out why RISC-V is suddenly such a hot topic and, what it means for tech's future.
Yeah, our goal today is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack what RISC-V actually is, how it compares to the big guys like ARM and x86, and then crucially explore why China is making such a massive strategic bet on it. It's really about their push for technological independence. We'll just lay out the facts impartially based on our sources.
Okay, so let's kick things off at that summit. The 5th RISC-V China Summit just wrapped up in Shanghai, July 16th to 19th, 2025, at the Zhangjiang Science Hall. Sounds like it was a pretty big deal.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't just some local meetup. It's one of the top 3 global RISC-V events alongside the ones in North America and Europe.
Wow, okay, so that says something about China's role right there.
Exactly. And the numbers back it up. Over 1,000 people there in person. And get this, 80% were from industry. Actual companies using the tech.
80%. So not just academics, but engineers, developers.
Yeah. And online. Over 500,000 views. Huge reach. More than 100 companies, research groups, open source communities involved. They even made admission free to, speed up adoption.
Smart move. Now, one thing that really jumped out from the reports was Nvidia's announcement. That seemed significant.
Hugely significant. Franz Eisterman's their VP of Hardware Engineering. Basically said they're porting CDA, their core software platform for AI and graphics, to RISC-V.
And CDA only ever ran on x86 and ARM before.
Precisely. So this is a massive shift. It shows NVIDIA sees RISC-V as a serious contender, even for the really high-end stuff. And remember, they already ship 1 billion RISC-V microcontrollers a year.
1 billion. Okay, so they're already deeply invested.
Deeply. And this CUDA news signals a broader strategy. They have this thing called NVLink Fusion. The plan is to integrate RISC-V CPUs with their GPUs, network chips, everything, to build complete data center systems.
So RISC-V CPUs could potentially replace the usual Intel or ARM chips inside NVIDIA's big server setups.
That's the vision. It allows for super flexible modular designs. You can mix and match processors and accelerators more easily with an open standard like RISC-V at the core.
Interesting. And NVIDIA wasn't the only big name making moves, right? Alibaba was mentioned too?
Yeah, Alibaba Group Holding made some waves. They announced their C930 server-grade CPU. That's part of their Swanty RISC-V series. And they're aiming it squarely at the high-end server market.
Competing with the established players?
Directly. And they also talked about new Swanty chips coming. One for AI acceleration, the C908X, another for cars, the R908A, and one for high-speed connection, the XL200. So they're really diversifying their RISC-V efforts.
Okay, so industry is clearly on board. What was the message from the Chinese government officials there?
Very clear, very bullish on open source. Shi Huikang from the MIIT, that's the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, he basically said open source CPUs like RISC-V plus open source operating systems are likely to dominate the next era, the Internet of Everything.
The Internet of Everything, okay.
Yeah, he pointed out RISC-V's incredible growth since 2010. It now has 4,500 member organizations in over 70 countries, and those billions of chips shipped in 2024. That figure really underscores the momentum. It's not just talk, it's massive deployment.
Billions is hard to ignore. Okay, we've thrown around RISC-V, ARM x86 quite a bit. Let's pause and really break these down. You mentioned an ISA as like a chip's language system. Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure thing. Think of the instruction set architecture, the ISA, as the absolute core vocabulary that a processor understands. It's the list of commands it knows how to execute. If you want the chip to add 2 numbers, there's a specific instruction for that in its IS.
Got it. So different architectures speak different languages.
Exactly. And the 3 main ones we're talking about have very different language styles, you could say. First, there's x86. This uses what's called CISC, complex instruction set computing. Think complex sentences doing multiple things at once. That's why it's powerful for PCs and servers where it holds like over 80% market share.
But it's proprietary, right? Intel and AMD control it.
Tightly controlled. Licensing is either super expensive or just not available. It delivers performance, but it's a closed system with a lot of historical baggage in those instructions. Then you have ARM. It's based on RISC, reduced instruction set computing, simpler instructions like shorter sentences. This makes it really energy efficient.
Which is why it's in almost every smartphone.
Exactly. Mobile devices, tablets, increasingly laptops too. Apple's M-series chips use ARM for that efficiency, plus the ability to customize within the ARM license. But it is licensed. You pay fees up front, royalties, support. It's commercial, still proprietary.
Okay, so that brings us to RISC-V, also RISC like ARM.
Also RISC, yes. But the absolute game changer is that it's open source, license-free, and modular. It started at UC Berkeley back in 2010, and now it's managed by RISC-V International, based in Switzerland.
Switzerland. Why is that significant?
It's about neutrality. Being based there helps avoid the perception of control by any single country, which is frankly a huge selling point for companies and countries wanting independence from, say, US or UK-controlled tech.
Right. So open source, free. What does that actually mean for designing chips? What are the practical upsides?
Well, several big ones. First, simplicity. The actual RISC-V instruction manual is tiny compared to x86 or ARM.
Yeah.
You're talking maybe a couple hundred pages versus thousands. Simpler often means more efficient, potentially more reliable code.
Easier to learn, easier to implement.
Pretty much. Second, and this is key, low entry barrier and amazing customization. Because it's open and has no old compatibility requirements, designers can literally pick and choose the instructions they need.
Like Legos for chips.
That's a great analogy. You only use the blocks you need, and you can even design your own custom blocks, your own specialized instructions, without paying anyone. This means you could potentially get the same performance using less silicon area, tailored exactly for your application.
Which must mean it's cheaper, too.
Absolutely. Cost effectiveness. No licensing fees is a massive deal. It opens the door for smaller companies, startups, universities to innovate in hardware design in a way that was just impossible before.
And you mentioned portability.
Yeah, and universality. It's designed to be adaptable. You can use it for a tiny sensor or scale it up for a supercomputer. It's meant to be a universal base language.
Okay, sounds almost too good to be true. Are there downsides, challenges?
Oh, for sure. It's not perfect, especially not yet. While it can be more efficient in theory, less complex instructions doing the work current high-end x86 chips often still have better raw performance for general computing tasks, like running complex desktop software or big databases.
The ecosystem is newer too, right? Less mature.
Definitely. Fewer established vendors providing complete end-to-end solutions and support compared to ARM or x86. So ironically, while it's open, you could still face a kind of vendor lock-in if you become dependent on one specific company's RISC-V tools or extensions for a while.
Okay. And I read something about a weaker memory model. That sounds technical.
It is a bit technical, yeah. Basically, RISC-V gives the CPU more freedom to reorder how it reads from and writes to memory to try and speed things up. For programmers used to x86's stricter rules about memory order, this can sometimes cause unexpected behavior or bugs if they're not careful.
So it requires a different way of thinking, maybe more careful programming in some cases.
Exactly. You need to use things called memory barriers more explicitly sometimes. It's manageable for experienced developers, especially those familiar with architectures other than x86, but it's a learning curve.
Got it. So some growing pains, a developing ecosystem. But despite that, the adoption rate you mentioned, 10 billion chips in 10 years versus 30 for older architectures, that's just phenomenal.
It really is. That kind of speed speaks volumes about the appeal.
And that speed, that appeal brings us squarely back to China's strategy, doesn't it? Why are they betting so heavily on RISC-V?
Well, the context is crucial. It's driven significantly by trade tensions and a real strategic push to reduce dependence on Western technologies, particularly from the U.S.
The export controls on advanced chips since 2022 must have played a big role.
A huge role. Those controls really highlighted vulnerabilities. RISC-V, being open source and not tied to a single company or country, presents a path to bypass those kinds of restrictions. It allows China to develop its own semiconductor industry more independently.
So how dominant is China in the RISC-V space right now?
Pretty dominant in terms of volume and participation. Our sources suggest China accounted for over half of all RISC-V chip shipments last year in 2024.
Wow, more than half the global total.
Yeah. And look at RISC-V International, the governing body. Out of its 23 top-tier premier members, 12 are Chinese entities. That gives them significant influence. And domestically, hundreds of Chinese companies are now involved in RISC-V R&D.
Making real progress in advanced areas, too.
Significant progress. Reports mention breakthroughs in high-performance computing, HPC, AI, servers, automotive rating, not just low-end controllers anymore.
And the government support seems really coordinated. You mentioned the MIT's working committee.
Yes, established in August 2023, pulling together over 180 members from industry, academia, research. It's a concerted effort. The national development plans also explicitly mention fostering open source architectures.
And Shanghai seems to be a real hotspot.
It's definitely a major hub. They have the China RISC-V Industry Alliance there, an open processor innovation center. They even launched something called the Shanghai RISC-V Ecological Street in Zhangjiang. It's clear state-level backing.
Can you give examples of some key Chinese companies and what they're actually building with RISC-V? We mentioned Alibaba.
Right, Alibaba's Demo Academy and their Schwanti CPUs are probably the most prominent. They're seen as China's leading RISC-V IP supplier. That C930 server chip is a direct shot at the high-end market. Plus, the specialized AI, auto, and interconnect chips show serious breadth.
Any others making noise?
There's a whole range. Companies like Allwinner, Espressif, known for IoT chips, Gihe Microelectronics, Nucleus System Technology, VeriSilicon, Ingenic. They're all active, developing RISC-V products for industrial control, consumer electronics, specialized applications. It's becoming quite widespread.
You also mentioned Tenstorrent earlier, not Chinese, but relevant.
Very relevant. Heavily backed, with people like Jim Keller involved.
Yeah.
They're designing high-performance AI chips using lots of RISC-V cores. Their black hole design, for instance, packs over 750 RISC-V cores.
750 cores.
Yeah, mostly smaller ones alongside 16 larger ones. It achieves incredible performance for AI tasks, reportedly outperforming even some established accelerators in certain metrics. It shows the potential of RISC-V for really demanding computations, and that global companies see that potential too.
Okay, so huge momentum, strong backing, real products. But you also mentioned challenges remain, especially for matching high-end by 86 or ARM performance across the board.
Definitely. The ecosystem for those really high-performance general-purpose applications is still maturing. It's sometimes described as more specialized, less general-purpose at the moment.
What are the main gaps?
Software is a big one. Things like advanced debugging and performance analysis tools aren't always as mature. Getting software drivers for specific RISC-V hardware fully integrated into mainstream operating systems, that mainlining process can be slower or require more effort from developers.
Compiler optimization, too, making sure the software runs as fast as possible on the hardware.
That's another area needing continuous work. And while RISC-V cores are getting powerful, matching the absolute peak performance of the latest by 86 or ARM server CPUs across all types of tasks is still an ongoing effort. Plus, there's a definite talent shortage. Finding enough engineers with deep expertise in RISC-V design, verification, and software is a challenge globally, not just in China.
So, given those hurdles, what's China's strategy to overcome them? What's the MIIT and industry pushing for?
It seems to be a three-pronged approach, based on the official statements and reports. First, deepen collaboration internally. Build up their own domestic ecosystem for things like custom instruction extensions, tool chains, operating systems, while also making sure China's voice is heard loud and clear in the international RISC-V standards bodies.
Strengthen the home base, influence the global standard. Makes sense. What's the second part?
Accelerate commercialization. Build on their existing strengths in IoT and industrial areas, but really push RISC-V into higher value markets like HPC data centers, AI, smart cars, get large-scale deployments happening there.
And the third?
Lead global cooperation. They're not just trying to build their own separate thing. The strategy explicitly talks about actively participating in and contributing to the global RISC-V ecosystem, encouraging Chinese companies to join RISC-V International, share their solutions, and help shape the standards. It's about leveraging the open source nature both domestically and internationally.
So it's a mix of self-reliance and global engagement through this open standard. Fascinating stuff. It really feels like RISC-V has incredible momentum, and China's push is a huge part of that story. It's definitely changing the conversation around chip design and who controls it.
Absolutely. This deep dive really shows, I think, that RISC-V isn't just some minor technical alternative anymore. It's become a major strategic pathway, potentially reshaping how technology gets developed, who innovates, and who holds the keys, really, on a global scale. A fundamental shift might be underway.
Indeed. A lot to watch in the coming years. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of RISC-V.